Hello and welcome. My name is Alessandra and this is another Fitscope yoga session. We're going to do a 25-minute post-runner stretch flow. So this app offers a lot of stuff. It offers cycling, running, strength and conditioning, yoga, Pilates, all this stuff. So if you are one of the runners, maybe your body needs a little bit of stretching. So I'm sure that there's a lot of stretching post-running, but this is just for the runner stretch. So we're actually going to start in child's pose. We're going to target all of the low body areas that get targeted when we run: hamstrings, outer hips, frontal hips, quads, perhaps shins, calves, and some upper back stuff too, right? That tends to get a little congested when we run too, I feel like. So we're going to start in child's pose, please. And I recommend for this practice that you have 2 blocks, maybe a strap. Strap might not be super necessary, but maybe a couple of blocks will be helpful. So have your knees a little wider than your hips, big toes touch. Bring your forehead to the mat, child's pose. So in this pose, I want you to feel comfortable. So if your head is floating in space, maybe bring a block underneath your head. I want this to be restful. I want your head to rest. Your hips are pretty heavy on your hips, or on your heels. Forehead on the floor. Arms out in front of you, just coming into your breath here. So maybe you already start to feel a little bit of a stretch in this pose, maybe. Inner thighs, back body. And we're going to turn this into downward facing dog just right away. So reach through the fingertips. Forearms lift away from the mat. Move your hips away from your heels. Curl toes under. Lift hips up and back, downward facing dog. So if this is a pose that's not super familiar to you, it's going to feel very awkward. It's very normal that if down dog is new, that it's very different. It's not what the body is used to doing. You're in this weird inversion. So just give it what you can. So press through the fingertips, lift those hips up and back. I want you to think of a straight line from your wrist to your shoulders to your hips. I know it's very different. We can do this. Upper arms wrap back towards your feet. Maybe start to pedal out the feet one at a time. So this is accessing not just your hamstrings, but your calves a little bit as well. And then bend both knees at the same time. See if you can lift your hips further up and back, shoulders away from your ears. Maybe you start to straighten through the legs a little more. And from here, reach your right leg up towards the sky. See if for a couple of breaths it feels okay to open up your hips towards the side and bend your knee. So I want your left side body to still be long, so lengthen your left hip away from your chest. Your chest, your shoulders still trying to square towards the mat as you open up through that right hip. Then start to straighten your leg, square out the hips. See if you can step that foot between the hands. As best you can, step that foot between the hands. Maybe you have to lift the arm a little bit and step that foot through. Bring the back knee to the mat. Bring the back knee to the mat. If the back knee is sensitive, you can just flip your mat. Give yourself some extra padding back there. Coming into a low lunge. So this is where blocks might come in handy. Coming into the front hip area. So your knee is over the ankle. You're trying to come as high up the knee on the back leg as possible, like more towards the bottom of the thigh. That should release some sensitivity in the knee. You're dropping low through those hips. And you can bring those blocks so that the wrists are under your shoulders. You're on the fingertips on those blocks. Low belly lifts away from that thigh. You're bending low into that front knee. And pressing gently through that heel. And if you feel stable, you can reach the arms up towards the sky. Still pressing through that front heel, low belly's lifting, shoulders away from your ears. Grab onto your left wrist with your right hand, poke the ceiling, start to bend towards the right. And bring it back to center, start to lift your chest, maybe that lifts your gaze, maybe the palms press up above you. On an exhale, bring the hands down. So from here, let's turn this into a quad stretch. This might be kind of a challenging quad stretch, but this is why you might have a strap handy. So you can keep your left hand on one of the blocks. It can be sort of in line with your foot. You're going to bend your back knee. Bend your back knee. That's already a big stretch for your quad. Maybe you reach back with your right arm and grab a hold of that foot. So if that's super impossible, you can grab a hold of your strap and see if you can take the ball of the foot with the strap. And kind of make it like a little backpack and give yourself as much slack as you need on the strap. Just coming into a deep quad stretch. So this is big. Don't address the quads very much. Just holding here. Great. Gently release that, whether it was the foot or the strap. Move that block out of the way. Curl those back toes under, straighten through the back legs. Step it back to downward facing dog. Let's do the other side. Left leg lifts up. Start to open up your hips towards the left if that feels okay. Start to bend that knee. So your right hip draws away from your chest. Get long in the right side body. Shoulders and chest trying to still square towards the mat. Opening up through that hip. And then start to straighten that leg, squaring the hips towards the floor. And see if you can step that foot between the hands. As best you can. Step that foot between the hands, bring the back knee to the mat. Maybe giving yourself that double padding on the mat. And again, bringing your hands onto blocks, just so you can be nice and tall here with a little bit of support. Low belly's lifting. You're on your fingertips on those blocks. Inner thighs drawing towards one another. Maybe reach the arms up towards the sky. Grab onto your right wrist with your left hand. Poke the ceiling and then start to bend towards the left. Your low belly's still lifting. Your ribs aren't collapsing forward. Getting a stretch in that frontal hip flexor. Reach the palms face one another. Lift your chest up towards the sky. Maybe that lifts the gaze. Maybe palms press. Bring the hands down. Turning it into that big quad stretch. You can move the left block out of the way. The right block stays under your right hand. And start to bend that back knee. Maybe feeling plenty of sensation here. Left arm reaches back. Maybe you grab onto the foot. Or again, you can have a hold of your strap. Give yourself as much slack as you need. So depending on the length of your strap, you can have a lot of space here. A lot of space. So you can do this as big or intensely or as mild as you want. And take 2 more breaths here. Big, deep quad stretch. And gently release that strap or the hold of the foot that you had. Move that block out of the way, curl the back toes under, straighten through the back legs, step it back, downward facing dog. Great. And again, reach your right leg up towards the sky. Deep exhale, step that foot between the hands as best you can. And again, bring that back knee to the mat. Bring your hands back onto those blocks. This time you're going to straighten through this right leg. Straighten through the right leg. The blocks can come back with you so the wrists are under the shoulders. You can walk the back knee back just a little bit so that your hips stack over that knee. So you're coming into that big hamstring stretch. So another hamstring stretch. So your foot is flexed here on the right side. And any height on those blocks, I have them on the highest height now. If you feel like you can keep a nice long spine and have the blocks maybe the medium height, or maybe the lowest height, or maybe you ditch them all together and you're on your fingertips if your spine feels long when you do that. From here, we're going to come into this big shin stretch. So you're going to start to point through those right toes, bringing that foot towards flat to the mat. Breathing into that. So shin splints, shin tension, very common in runners. Just giving that area some attention. Start to flex through that foot again. Start to bend the leg. Turn this into lizard pose. You're going to bring both blocks onto the inside of your foot. Move that foot over to the right, and then angle the toes out to the side a little bit. You're going to come onto like the outer edge of that foot, so you're opening up the knee out to the side. Okay, and your blocks are there because you're going to come onto your forearms. So if you don't need the blocks, you can move them out of the way, but if not, you can have your hands, your forearms on blocks, curl the back toes under, then straighten through that back leg. So this is lizard pose. It's a big pose. So as this knee opens up towards the side, you should be getting a deep stretch into that hip, maybe even the frontal hip flexor on the left side as well. Heart reaches forward. Gently start to plant your right foot again, bringing the back knee to the mat. Prop yourself up. You can move those blocks out of the way. And then press yourself up and back to downward facing dog. Let's do that on the second side. Inhale, left leg lifts. Deep exhale, maybe you lift the left arm a little bit to get that foot between the hands. Back knee comes to the mat. Your hands come onto blocks. You can start at the highest height just to give yourself an idea of what you need. Then straighten through this left leg. The blocks come back with you, so the wrists are under the shoulders. You can walk the back knee back just a little bit so the hips stack over that back knee, just coming into that yummy, intense hamstring stretch. And again, any height on those blocks. If you feel like they're a little too tall, then give yourself what you need. But I want your spine to be long. This is not about forward folding and the chest touching the leg. If anything, the longer the spine, the more you'll feel the hamstring stretch, and you'll most likely feel that in your body. Now let's turn this into that intense shin stretch. So you're going to start to point through your left toes, bringing that foot towards flat onto the mat. Really point through the toes. You'll feel that more if you really get the toes in there. Then start to straighten that leg or flex that foot. And then come forward into that low lunge again. You're going to bring both blocks onto the inside of your foot. Move that foot over to the left a little bit. And turn the left toes out to the side a little bit. You're going to come onto the outer edge of that foot so the inner foot lifts. So the knee comes out to the side a little bit. You can come down on your forearms. And from your forearms, maybe curl the back toes under and straighten through that back leg. So getting that deep hip stretch on the left side and maybe even a little bit on the right side. Low belly lifts, heart reaches forward. No pain or discomfort in your knee, right? So the knee is in this kind of weird position, but as long as your foot is flexed, it should be okay. If it doesn't feel good, just plant the left foot onto the mat and have the knee point straight forward. Gently start to plant the foot if it's not already planted on the left side. Bring the back knee down. Prop yourself up. You can move those blocks out of the way. And center out that foot again. And step it back to downward facing dog. So hopefully down dog feeling a little less foreign. You can take stock of the work you've done so far. Calves, shins, quads, hamstrings. Gently come onto your knees, swing your legs out in front of you. We'll come into Baddha Konasana, so bound angle pose. You can bring the bottoms of your feet together, sit up nice and tall, grabbing onto the tops of your feet. Your knees relax out to the sides. You can start to open up your feet like you would the pages of a book. Lengthen up through the spine. And exhale, start to forward fold if that's available. So I know for myself, forward folding it's not like my face is touching the floor. This is just where my hips allow me to fold. And again, your knees are happy here. And maybe with every exhale, you forward fold a little more. And gently start to bring it back up. And bring your legs back together. And come to lie down on your back, please. So we'll do some outer hip stuff here. Extend your right leg up to the sky. Turn the leg out 45 degrees and cross it over the left thigh. Flex that foot a lot, maybe just gently pressing that knee away from your chest. Maybe turning this into thread the needle, interlacing your hands behind your left thigh, bringing that left foot off the floor. If behind the thigh isn't enough, you can interlace behind or in front of your shin. I want your spine to be nice and long on the mat. You're feeling an outer hip stretch. Again, knees are happy here. Gently release that. We'll do the other side. Extending left leg up to the sky, turning that leg out 45 degrees and then crossing that ankle over the right thigh. Flex that foot a lot, maybe just gently pressing the left thigh away from you. Or maybe turning this into thread the needle. You interlace your hands behind the right thigh, bring that knee in towards your chest. Flex that left foot a lot. Knees are happy, spine is long. Maybe you interlace in front of the shin if you want a little bit of a deeper stretch. And gently release that, uncrossing the legs. Feet flat on the mat. Your feet are hips distance. I know you can't see them, but have a mental sense of what that might be. And reach for the backs of your heels. Just barely graze them so that the heels are under the knees. Let's do 3 big Setu Bandha Sarvangasana, so bridge poses. So your arms are down by your sides, forearms lift up, and lift your hips up to the sky. Any amount that feels okay for your back. Inner thighs draw down, inner foot is heavy, press into the arms. Maybe interlace your hands back behind you, scooch the flesh of your shoulders under, lift everything up. Your knees staying hips distance, low belly lifts towards your face. Gently release the interlace, vertebra by vertebra, come back down to the mat. Let's do that again. Let's do it with a block between the thighs, just to make sure that the knees don't splay out to the sides. So block between the thighs. That'll also give you a pretty good distance for your feet. Arms down by your sides, forearms lift. Again, inhale, lift hips up to the sky. Inner thighs draw down. You can think trying to draw that block down to the mat. Maybe interlace your hands back behind you. If you did it the first time, switch the crossing, the lacing of your fingers. Press into the arms, lift your chest up to the sky. And gently release the interlace, bring it back down to the mat. We have one more. Getting into that upper back. And as you're ready, arms down by your sides, forearms can lift up away from the mat, just like kind of robot arms. Inhale, hips up towards the sky, inner thighs down, inner foot heavy, interlacing one last time behind the back. Scooch the flesh of your shoulders under the body, press into the arms, lift the chest up, low belly lifts towards your face. Can you relax your sitting muscles because you're lifting your chest up, or your low belly up towards your chest. Gently release the interlace. Bring it back down to the mat. You can move that block out of the way. Gently hug your knees into your chest. And for a moment, just plant the feet. Move the hips towards the right a little bit. Draw your knees back into your chest, and then drop those knees towards the left. Just so that your hips are in line with your spine as you twist. And gently bring those knees back to center, center out through the hips. Plant the feet for just a moment, scooch the hips towards the left, bring the hips or the knees in towards your chest again, and drop the knees towards the right. Gently float those knees back up to center, center out through the hips. Hugging the knees in one last time. Just because we're here, let's do a happy baby. So grabbing onto the outer edges of your feet from the insides of your knees. Maybe stacking your heels over your knees and rocking a little bit side to side. If the feet are kind of closer together like this, that's totally fine. I want your spine to be long. Gently hug those knees in towards your chest. And just extend the legs out onto the mat. Taking a corpse pose, Shavasana. Arms down by your sides, palms face up. And again, taking stock. Taking stock. All the areas of your body that you addressed that worked so hard. Calves, shins, hamstrings, quads, outer hips, frontal hips, inner thighs, upper back and chest. Relaxing completely through the body. Allowing to receive the work that you did. And as you're ready, if you can give yourself more time in this Shavasana, then please do. If you're ready to start moving again, you can lengthen your breath. And bring movement back to the body, moving fingers and toes. Just gently float your knees in towards your chest. Reach your left arm up and back behind you. Just rock to your left side, holding a fetal position for a breath. Feeling the earth supporting you. And prop yourself up to a comfortable seat. Maybe sitting up on a block on your shins or shins crossed. And as you come to your comfortable seat, have the eyes closed one last moment, sitting up tall, palms face down on your thighs. Sitting in what the practice offered you. Bring your hands to prayer at your heart, bow your head and lift your chest. Acknowledging your inner brilliance. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Alessandra. Namaste.